All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, hello, everybody. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Chelsea Langner. I am a regional account manager here at Tripleseat. I've been with the company for about 4 years now. I am currently based in Las Vegas, and I am the dedicated AM for California, Nevada, and some of our Hawaiian customers, as well as APAC and Australia and New Zealand.
All right. And I'm Katie Dykes. I am the newest member of the account management team here at Tripleseat. Prior to joining the account management team a couple months ago, I was on our onboarding team. So I may have gotten some of you guys up and running on your Tripleseat sites. And for any of you that migrated from Gather, I actually was on the Gather team prior to the merger. And before coming to work at Gather and Tripleseat, I was an event director here in Atlanta, as well as in Charleston, South Carolina.
Perfect. Yes. And also to mention, Katie and I both have backgrounds in event management and being event directors and working for restaurant groups. And I actually did get my start in hotels. So we've definitely been in everybody's shoes and sitting where you guys are sitting, whether it's, using Tripleseat, using Gather, being new to either system. And we are here to help. So today we are going to be doing a deep dive into settings. We're going to be going through some specific topics that we feel would be the most beneficial to you guys. So we are going to be going through preferences, users, user roles, as well as personalizing some of your email templates. And then we're going to get into some billing detail and financial changes that you are able to make on your site. And then we are going to also talk about lead forms, which is going to be very helpful if you guys currently don't have a lead form up on your site. Hopefully this will motivate you to go ahead and get that posted. And then we're going to finish off with online payments. I would also like to mention that there is on your screen a Q&A feature, and we do have Lauren and Allie from our enablement team, and they will be doing Q&A with you guys. So go ahead and pop any questions in there for some, live feedback. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Katie.
All right, guys, let's get started. Get my screen shared with you here. All right. All right, guys. So as Chelsea mentioned, we are doing primarily settings today. And so just wanted to kind of give everybody a little reminder of how to get to settings within your site. So the little gear in the bottom left-hand corner of the page will take you to settings. And settings is the back end of your site. So this is where you'd be coming to make those permanent changes to the way that your site is set up or to the way it functions. Now, depending on your different users' level of access, they may or may not be able to get to this portion of the site. And that's actually something that we'll be touching on a little bit later when we chat about user roles. So first things first, let's take a look at preferences, which is the top option here in settings. And preferences is where you can go to start doing some customizing to your site. The general preferences here will allow you to make changes to things such as what time your calendar starts, your currency, or your date format. And working down the page, we can make adjustments to our event status rules. So this is an area that you definitely want to take caution with when making changes to, because there is the potential here to cause double booking. So make sure that you are being thoughtful when making changes to this, because this is where you would determine if specific statuses are able to overlap one another. So for example, that prospect status, by default, we allow that prospect status to overlap because you may be talking to more than one guest about the same date and time. But until that contract has been signed, the space is still available. So we allow overlap in that prospect status. This area is also where you could add our waitlist status. And then down here at the bottom, we have some fun options to make changes to the color theme of your site. So heading back up to the top of this page, we have the Dropdowns tab. And throughout the site, you'll see drop-down menus everywhere. And this is where you can come to make changes to the options on those drop-downs. And it's definitely valuable to customize these drop-downs because this is going to help you to get more accurate information about the types of events that you guys are doing, and you'll be able to have better reporting. So one of the fields here that I definitely recommend customizing is your lost reasons. So why are people not moving forward? One of the best practices that we do recommend is when you get a lead, you want to qualify that lead, but you want to go ahead and convert it into an event as soon as it's qualified. Once something is an event and you've had some discussion with this guest, if they decide not to move forward, you'd be able to move the event to lost, and then you can categorize those reasons as to why they decided not to move forward. So customizing these reasons here is going to help you to be able to really hone in on why are your guests not moving forward. I have a little anecdote that I always like to share when talking about these lost reasons. We had a customer who kept seeing that guests were not moving forward because they did not have an outside space. So they got so much feedback that they didn't have an outside space that they decided that it might be worthwhile for them to actually build a patio, because so many potential events were being lost because they didn't have that outside space. So definitely customizing this to help you hone in on why people aren't moving forward, and then you can react to that accordingly. Another area would be these event types. What types of events are you guys actually doing? Anything on this list that doesn't apply to you, you can hit the red trash can to get rid of it. You can add in the types of events that you do, and then you're also able to rearrange things by way of this little cross symbol here to get these into an appropriate order for you. Honing in on these event types, once again, is going to help you to have more accurate reporting. So you can see what types of events are you actually doing. Are we doing lots of corporate events? Do we have some areas of opportunity to maybe get into those rehearsal dinners or weddings? And then also lead sources. How are leads coming into you? So at the top here, you'll see we have some fields that are locked. So these are those default Tripleseat sources, like your Tripleseat web lead, which is if you have that Tripleseat lead form up on your website, which we'll be talking about later. Of course, this is leads that come in from Venues by Tripleseat or Event Up. Down here, these are those customizable fields. Was this lead a walk-in? Did you guys cold call? You can also add sources for any types of campaigns that you're doing. So if you are creating campaigns for Instagram, Twitter, or maybe a third-party website, adding them here as a lead source will allow you to track those. You can actually tie that lead source to an individual lead form and then run that reporting to see where your leads are coming in from. This area is also specifically something that marketing teams tend to love, because they can see where their marketing is working, where they might have some areas of opportunity, maybe some places where maybe we want to spend some more marketing dollars, on those Facebook campaigns because you're getting a lot of ads in. So customizing these drop downs here will really help you to glean a lot more data about the types of events that you're doing and where you have room for improvement. So heading back here to settings, and we'll take a look at our users. So this area is where we can come to add new users, and we can also make changes to our existing users here. So I'm going to click into Adam just as an example to show you what this looks like and how we can edit these. So first off, you'll be able to make changes to these existing users. And a very common one that we hear a lot and we get a lot of requests for in support is making changes to people's passwords. This would give you the ability to reset someone's password for them. You could create a temporary password for them and provide them with that information if they're unable to log in. This is also where you can come to update their personal information, names, email addresses, titles. And then as you work down the page, you'll be able to set those levels of access. So those levels of access are called user roles, and we're going to touch on those in more detail in just a moment, but this is where you're going to come to set that user role. So you would use the drop down here to select that user role or that user's level of access. And then also you'll be able to select which locations this user has access to. So you could select all locations, individual locations, and as far as the roles go, you can actually change which role the user has at specific locations. So for example, maybe this user can only view Lakeview Grill, but they're a general user for the other locations. Another thing to point out would be this delete user button. Maybe somebody is no longer with you. So using the delete user button here is going to remove their username from the system. When you click this button, you do have the option to reassign anything in that user's name to another user. But if you delete it, then that information will be lost. Another option here is that you can just deactivate the user. So deactivating this user would prevent them from having access, but it'll save all of your historical data that's tied to that user. So coming back here to this user page, you'll be able to see when you're looking at your users, their role is going to be listed off over here to the side. And if you did want to add a new user, you would do so using this button. It's going to just open up a blank version of the page that we were just on. You can enter in their information, set that user role. And when you create that new user, it's actually going to automatically send them a welcome email that will include a temporary password so that they can get logged in and start using. So coming back to settings here, and let's talk a little bit more about those user roles or those levels of access. So these are roles that Tripleseat has created for you by default. You are welcome to use these as is. You can modify them, or you could create your own roles. And everyone's business is different, so making adjustments to these user roles is really going to help you to make sure that each one of your users has access to the information that you want them to have. So creating new user roles, there's a lot of benefits to this. You can kind of hone in on the way that different people are going to use the system. A couple of good examples of creating a custom user role might be you may want to create a user role for your accounting or financial team, for example. That team would have access to reporting and maybe payments, but maybe you don't want them to have access to leads, for example. We already have hostess and chef roles created, which of course you can modify, but like this host and hostess role, for example, this role may be somebody who only has access to the calendar or can create leads, but you maybe don't want the people in this role to have access to make changes to an event or to view financials. That chef role, for example, chef may need to have access to BEOs and kitchen sheets, but perhaps you don't want chef to be able to make changes to leads. So those are just some of the ideas of the types of roles that you could create or why you may want to make adjustments to these roles. So something to keep in mind when making adjustments to these user roles is that if you make adjustments to these roles, this is going to be applied to the group as a whole. So when making changes here, definitely keep that in mind. That being said, you can create location roles. So if you want to create a role that is, specific to your individual location, creating a location role would allow you to do that. So I'm going to hop in here to this general user to kind of show you what you would do to make modifications to these roles. So we have the roles named up here. Of course, you can make changes to that if you'd like to. And then as you work your way down the page, this is where you're going to be able to really hone in on who has access to what. So first things first, we have settings. So as far as editing settings, once again, this is an area that you definitely want to be conscious of who has access to settings. Making adjustments to settings. These are permanent changes. So you want to make sure that people who have access to this, know how to use these and are using appropriately. Same thing is going to go for making changes to users and user roles. As I mentioned earlier, making changes to these user roles, this is going to be something that is group wide. So if you make a change to the user role, depending on the size of your organization, could really affect a lot of people. So want to make sure that anybody who does have access to make changes to users or user roles has the background and is aware of the results of making changes to those roles. So continuing to work down the page, you'll see that we have the different sections representing the different areas of the site. And these sections all have drop-down menus where you can make the determination as to the level of access within each particular area. And you'll notice these blue boxes here. These are going to kind of give you an update as to what that permission level is going to mean. So for example, here on our events tab, if we hit the drop downs here, these levels are actually going to build upon each other. So for example, if this user is able to view events, they can only view, wouldn't be able to make changes to these. You can even hone in here on the events as to what sections within the event this role would have access to. If you keep working down on the drop downs, these roles are going to build upon each other. So the next down would be to create events. This user would be able to create events and build upon that viewing events, so be able to create as well as to view events. Being able to edit events is going to give them even more access. Deleting, once again, one level up. And then of course, that highest level of access as far as events go would be to administer the events. So when you're making adjustments to these, make sure to keep an eye on these little blue areas. They're going to give you some clarification as to what that change means as far as that level of access in that particular area. So as we continue to work down here, leads, this is another area that is definitely helpful in specific user roles. Is this person able to create and edit leads? Maybe they could only submit them. Maybe they could only view them. As we keep working down here, we have access to the calendar and access to reports. You can hone in even further here to say which specific reports this role would have access to. Down here, we have our file library. Would this user be able to add things into our file library? And then at the very bottom here, we have our documents. So this is a really important area when it comes to making adjustments to these user roles, because these are your document templates. So within each individual template, you also have the layouts. So you can determine, like that chef example that I was mentioning earlier, maybe the chef only needs to have access to our kitchen sheet and our menus, but doesn't need to have access to invoices, for example. So all of your document sets will be listed here along with all of your layouts. And just a kind of pro tip here, if you are making adjustments to those documents and you create a new set of documents, when that new set of documents is added, it will be listed here on this page. Make sure when adding those new documents that you come back into your roles and give access to those new sets of documents. I'll admit I'm guilty of forgetting that before. So just make sure that we're giving access to those new sets of documents to the people who need them. So we'll head back over here to settings now and take a look at discussion email templates. So email templates, this is one of my favorite features of Tripleseat. It is so helpful. It can save you so much time. And there's really a lot that you can do here to customize these to your needs. So when looking at this page, you'll notice that your templates are going to be broken down into categories. So we have our general event templates, we have booking templates, templates for documents, as well as lead templates, and payments down here at the very bottom. So when you're making edits, you want to make sure that you are adding these templates into the appropriate categories. So for example, with leads, adding a lead template, that template is going to only be accessible when working on a lead. So you would not be able to access that template if you are working on the event level, for example. So when adding them in, make sure that we're adding them into the appropriate categories. And on the subject of lead templates here, it's really great to build out these templates because this is going to help you to be able to respond to your leads faster, which everybody knows, the quicker that you can get back to somebody, the more likelihood it's going to be that they would be booking that event with you. So we have some examples here. The date is available. The date is not available. You can do just a simple response, and these can really be customized, as much as you need. You can do custom ones for holiday parties, for example, or for, specific times of year. So coming back up to the top here, I just want to take a look at an event template. And, aside from leads, you really can put majority of your templates here, and then that way you would have access to them anytime that you are working on the event level. So I'm going to hop just into this customized event response to show you all the things that you can do with these email templates. So at the very top of the page, you would name your template. You can make the determination as to which locations are going to have access to this template. And then working down, you can start honing in on what you want this response to say. So we have our subject line here, and just want to point out these little bracketed fields here, and you guys will see them throughout this template. So these little bracketed fields are called merge fields, and they are essentially a fill in the blank. So like in this case, this would pull in the location's name, the event date. So using the merge fields is going to just help these templates to come off very personalized, and once again, save you so much time as opposed to going in and having to, write in the guest's name, write in their date. Let the magic of Tripleseat do this for you by way of the merge fields. So that subject line, definitely keep in mind how this email is going to be coming off to your guest. You may want to customize this to make sure that, it's going to be standing out to people. They know who the response is coming from and what it's in regards to. So if you take a look at this example here, you can see you can actually add photos into these, which I think is a great thing to do to kind of display your different spaces. And we have quite a few customers who will create a different email template for their individual spaces. So depending on the size of the group, they can share that specific email template that's showing photos of the space. And you can even include links to things like menus, for example. So, when you're sending out these email templates, you can go ahead and provide your guest with as much information as possible about hosting an event with you. So as far as these merge fields go, definitely recommend utilizing these. In order to access them, all you have to do is to right click. They're going to pop up. And you'll notice we have a lot of different fields. And then within the fields, you are going to have kind of those individual categories. So for example, on an event here, if we wanted to pull in an event date, we could pull in date format and choose how we want the format of that date to read. You can pull in information such as financials, deposit amounts, how much is due. It's a great thing to set these up for, sending out those final invoices, and you can include financial information in these. Things like, date and time, contact information. If you have custom fields created, you can pull custom fields in by way of the merge fields as well. And these merge fields are also something that you may be using in other areas of your site. For example, a lot of people utilize these in their terms and conditions to, pull in names, dates, times. So I really can't say enough things about utilizing these email templates. They're just such a great time saver. You spend so much time, responding to leads and doing that back and forth with our guests, and creating these custom templates is going to save you so much time. It can help to create consistency. For those of you with marketing teams that are maybe very conscious of your branding, you can use these to help create a unified message with a specific style. So definitely recommend utilizing these to save yourself some time, which of course everybody needs as an event planner. So kind of wrapping things up in terms of my portion of the presentation here today, I will pass this back over to Chelsea.
Perfect. All right, Katie, thank you so much for going over that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying everything so far. So as you can see, I am here on a test event, and we are going to go over a couple of different components of Tripleseat, kind of picking up where Katie left off. So one of the things that we do get asked quite a bit, whether it's support or through account management, is if somebody wants to add a new fee or a new billing detail. So that could be either tax, gratuity, an admin fee, a production fee, a specific tax for alcohol. And it's interesting with this system because it's not something that you just go into settings and you add into one place. This one is extra special because you have to go into a couple of different features within settings in order to make sure that this is represented accurately on your documents, and also so your financials are correct. So the first part of this is what we're going to do is we're going to jump right over to settings, and we're going to scroll down. And you guessed it, the first place that we're going to land is billing details. This is the first place where you're going to want to add this detail. So for an example, we're going to go ahead and add a production fee for this location. So we're going to click on new document billing. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this the description. So production fee, the internal name is always going to be the same unless it needs to be notated otherwise. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And I'm going to pop in a value of 3%. So as you can see here, if you are a Tripleseat customer that has multiple locations, if this was something that only applied to one location, you can go ahead and just choose that singular location, or you can apply it to all of them. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and just do Lakeview Grill. Also, if every location does have a production fee, but maybe they vary dependent upon the level of events that they produce. Maybe if I wanted them to be for all, but Portland, I wanted it to be 6%, and then Lakeview Restaurant maybe wanted to be 10%. I would not need to add an individual billing detail for each location because these overriding values will pull in those correct percentages each time they're used. So I'm just going to go ahead and take those off. And then this is going to pull in that 3% for Lakeview Grill. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Now, as you can see, when I scroll to the bottom, you have the option to add other fees on top of fees. And I know, so this is something that when I first started training to be an account manager for Tripleseat, the way that it was explained to me was think of everything backwards. So let's just say, for example, this production fee does need to be taxed. Instead of going into production fee and taxing it, I'm going to go into sales tax. And I'm going to go ahead and have the production fee included, meaning that the production fee is going to be included in my total tax. So I've done that. I'm going to go ahead and click update. So this is step one of adding that new billing detail. The next place I'm going to go is, you guessed it, right back to settings. And then I'm going to scroll down to my menu item categories. So menu item categories are categories that are comprised of all of your billing details that we then assign to pick lists. So for example, you can see here we have AV, beverage, floral, food, etc. And if I click into these, I will see the individual billing details that need to be coded so that those fees are appropriately assigned to a pick list item. So for example, if I go ahead and click food, I can see that this has admin, gratuity, and sales tax already included. So with this new production fee for Lakeview Grill, I do want that to be included. So I'm going to go ahead and update that menu item category. And then also for beverage, I also want that production fee to be included as well. So I'm going to click update. And then I'm going to look at AV. And I can see here that AV doesn't have anything included, but if we are providing AV, I would now like the production fee to be included. So these can all be different, and they are different based upon what your venue or your specific locations apply fees to. So maybe you don't put gratuity on AV, maybe you do put gratuity on florals. So this is where you can come in and adjust those categories. So now that these have been adjusted, we now need to remedy that our pick lists have new fees that need to be attached to them. So again, we're going to go back into settings. As I said, this one is comprised of a couple of different features within settings. And now I'm going to pop over to my pick lists. And I can see here that I need to reassign any pick lists that are going to have food or beverage. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick this $95 menu. And I'm going to go ahead and mass assign this category, and I'm going to click food. And now I know that because I've assigned it to the category of food, admin fee, gratuity, tax, and production fee have all been applied. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So if you do add a new billing detail, and after you have updated the menu item category, you do need to go into your pick list and reassign them to that same category so that new billing detail is applied. If not, then that production fee is not going to be applied to this $95 menu or any of the other food. So you do need to go in, and again, you would just do mass assign this category, food, and hit save. I would also like to mention, if you're ever creating a new pick list, always mass assign the category so everything is properly assigned. So now that I have done that, it's now coming to the last step. I now need to add this to my billing widget in my documents. So I'm going to go ahead and hit settings again. And I'm going to scroll down to documents. And I'm going to be adding this on the template level. So it's represented in each of the layouts below. So I'm going to click edit template content. Then I'm going to scroll down to the billing widget. And I can see here that all of the other fees are represented. I'm going to toggle over where it says add a row. I'm going to click billing item, and then I'm just going to type in production fee. And then I am going to put that 1% in as a placeholder, because in billing details under settings, we already assigned the 3% production fee. The system knows to apply that. So this 1% is just going to act as a placeholder. And then over to the right, I'm going to expand this ellipsis right here. And where it says apply to billing detail, you always want the line to match what you're assigning it to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit production fee. And then I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. Now, again, we do need to make sure that the sales tax is being applied. So again, we are going to think about it the opposite way. So I'm going to go over to my sales tax line item, and I'm going to make sure that production fee is included. So this included totals from production fee into the tax. And then once I hit save template, it has been updated. So now for all future events, that production fee will be added, and it will be added to food and to beverage. I know that that is a lot of steps. So just always remember, once you add the billing detail, you need to update the menu item category, and then you need to reassign your pick lists. And then your last step is going to be actually adding it here onto the template. Moving right along, we're going to go back to our settings, and we're going to talk about lead forms. So lead forms really, I was a Tripleseat user prior to being an account manager for the company, and the lead form was always explained by my original account manager as probably the best ROI that you can have for the system. So this is going to be how people can submit inquiries directly through the website, and then they will speak to the Tripleseat system. And every lead that is submitted is going to be living right here in this lead section. And then you can use those beautiful email templates that Katie just described in order to communicate with them and hopefully go ahead and get them to commit to a date and then have it materialize into actualized revenue. So I went ahead and I clicked on lead forms. When you do sign up for Tripleseat, you are given a standard lead form, and then you do have the code to go ahead and embed it onto your site. So there are a couple of options when you look at the setup, when you view the setup codes. And for some event managers, I know that this can be a little bit overwhelming. Like I said, I was an event manager. I did not come from the tech side. So very thankfully, we had people that helped us embed these onto our site. So you do have you can see all the different ones that are listed, but you can see here that it says embed code and then hosted form. I always recommend doing the embedded code. Aesthetically, it's going to look better onto your site. It's going to look very organic, that this is where it lives. It's not going to open up another window, and it's not just going to have the standard white background with all of the fields. And I will go ahead and show you guys an example in just a moment. But before we get there, I did want to show you that you can have multiple lead forms assigned to one location or for all of your locations. So as you can see, we have a holiday promo, we have a Facebook joint lead form, we have another holiday, Instagram, and then we have individual lead forms as well. So the benefit of having the multiple lead forms, and this is something that Katie touched on when she was going through the drop downs, is you can go ahead and source these differently. So when, let's say you have a promo for Easter Sunday and you do an email blast and you go ahead and put the link in, when that lead comes in, the lead source is going to say Easter Sunday Lakeview Grill holiday promo. And then you can see through, via reporting how much actualized revenue you have from that lead form. So you can create multiple lead forms. You can also share them. So if we were going to go ahead and create a new event lead form, you can see here that you can select all of the locations. And then from there, this would be available on all of the websites. And then maybe from once they submit, you can call them and ask what preferences they have, or maybe they don't have a preference and they just want to dine at one of your locations. So if we actually go in to edit the lead form, let's go into this one right here. So this is where you would actually name the form. So again, if you wanted this to be for a specific promotion or for a specific holiday, you're able to do that right there. You can also adjust the locations here as well. You can add in your banner and your logo. This can also be done under locations and settings as well. And then this is where you can get to customize some of the information. So where it says form header text, event request, event description text, nature of this event, you can change this. Maybe if you would like this to say what type of event will you be having, you can go ahead and adjust it from there. Anything here where you see that it can be edited, you can go ahead and customize that. So maybe it fits your marketing or your verbiage to your locations. Another thing that I always really want to point out that I find very important is the message displayed after filling out the form. So this is going to pop up once somebody submits an inquiry. This is customizable. So maybe if you wanted to add verbiage, such as if you are submitting this inquiry on a Friday, we will get back to you by Monday morning, or for more information, please call our restaurant at, and then you can add your phone number. You can add your event manager's email address if you would like as well. So any other accompanying information that you would like to add, you can go ahead and put right there. Now we get to the form field. So this is the actual info that the prospective client is going to be adding. So you can see here you have the company, the date, guest count, email address, phone number. You do have the ability to require this information, meaning that they will not be able to submit the lead unless this information has been input into the form. So it really depends on the type of events that your location produces specifically. For something like an event date, if you're a wedding venue, obviously that can be very flexible. So I would not recommend having a specific date. And then maybe in the additional information section, they would maybe just say, we're looking between May and June of 2023. So you are able to either require or not require if you would like a guest count. I do recommend doing the guest count because then you're able, if it's something, if you guys have a minimum, if it has to be at least 10 guests, you can easily filter that out. You can filter them to the hostess to call and make a regular reservation. So those are, also those are kind of just ways to save you time as the event manager. So also you can see here the lead source is Tripleseat Web Lead. This is where those drop downs and preferences comes through. So if you've added other lead sources such as The Knot, Wedding Wire, Holiday Promo, Summer 2020, this is where you can code that. So when the lead actually comes in from this form, that is the source that will show up. And again, that is reportable as well. Minimum guest count required. So as I mentioned above, if you need to have 10 guests in order for it to be considered a group dining reservation or a private event, you can go ahead and add that information here as well. And then this is something, this is going to be an added feature for event style options. Some of you are enabled with this and mapped, and some of you that just do on premise, you would not have this section. But for those of you that are, you can also say, if it's going to be on premise full service, pickup catering, or drop off catering, and those fields will vary depending on what you choose. If you would like more information on event styles, you can definitely look at our YouTube channel, or you can also reach out to support or your account manager so we can go over that information for you. Then you also will get an auto response email. So very similarly to the message that's going to pop up after they have filled the form out, they will also get an email saying that they have that their request has been submitted. Again, you can also edit this information here as well. So if you wanted to add any contact information, if you wanted to add photos, if you wanted to add like a little video, you're able to do that. You can go ahead and add the hyperlink here. So that's the lead forms. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this. And just to give you an example for those of you that don't have the lead form up just yet, I am going to pop over to this site. So if I logged on to Blue Water and I'm looking at their menu and I'm thinking, oh, this looks great, and I would really love to have a private event here. If I click over to private dining, it's going to take me to the Tripleseat web lead form. So from here, I can go ahead and fill out all of my information. I want to be contacted by phone. I can put my company in if this is going to be a corporate event. And then this is going to be for on-premise. And then I would put in the nature of my event, whether it's going to be a corporate dinner or a birthday party. And because this one does link to multiple locations, let's say I am based in Atlanta, I'm planning a party with Katie, I'm going to go ahead and pick Atlanta. If you are a singular location, or if your lead form is only assigned to one location, you can just omit this because it will only be routed to that one venue. I will put in my date, the start and end time, the number of people, and then any additional information that I would like to add. And then also, how did you hear about us? This is a reportable feature as well. So it's almost a lead source to your lead source. They're able to add that. And then once they hit submit, you will get the email notification that a lead has been submitted. And then that new lead will go ahead and be populated in your on your dashboard, and then also in the lead section. So if you don't have your lead form up, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you do have any questions about it, again, please reach out to support or your dedicated account manager. We would be happy to help. And if you do have an on-site web development team, you can go again into settings, and then you're going to click lead forms, and then you're going to click setup codes. And then you're able just to click this embeddable form. And then this is the code that they would use to go ahead and embed that form onto your site. While we're talking about some really sticky features with Tripleseat and ways to kind of save time for you as an event manager and just to be more efficient, we're going to get into one of my favorite features. I know Katie talked about email templates as one of her favorites. That is a favorite of mine, but coming in a very close second to my top, which is going to be online payments. Absolutely. So just to show you where the online payments live, if you go into settings, and if you scroll down, you're going to see this payment section. Now, kind of tying back to user roles, online payments in the settings is only going to be visible for customer admins. So customer admins are going to be the top user level for any site. It is above admin. The main difference being customer admins can see payment, and admins are not able to have access to the online payment section. So if you go ahead and if you click onto online payments, you can see here that we have already been set up. In the event that you are not set up with online payments and you click on this, you're going to see that you have two options. As Tripleseat customers, you have the option to either integrate with Clover Connect or with Stripe. You would contact each of either one of those processors directly. You would set up an account with them. We can also assist in getting you in contact with them. And then once you have all of the account information, you would basically just click on either Clover Connect or Stripe. It's going to ask you for some qualifying info, your account information. It's going to ask you for the location info. And then once you go ahead and sync that up, this is what it's going to look like for you. So this is where you would find your online payment account information. Other than that, in settings, this is really where you would see the info, and then the transaction history report, which we're going to get into in just a moment. Because while we're on the topic of online payments, I really want to talk a little bit more about the benefits and kind of show you how that functions. So both of our processors, whichever one you integrate with, those are going to be 100% PCI compliant. So that would definitely put the client at ease, as well as the venue owner and any event managers that are going to be handling the credit card info. It's information that we at Tripleseat cannot see, as well as anybody in the venue cannot see it as well. It is stored and it is secure. So if we go ahead and go over to this event, so Katie and I are planning a birthday party together, and it looks like we have a grand total. We've added some food and beverage, and we also have a deposit payment that has been unpaid. If I go over to the payment section, I can see here that I have a $2,500 deposit that needs to be paid. If you are integrated with online payments, this is something that the client can do on the go, which is fantastic, because if they're already electronically signing something, why not make everything electronic, where they can go ahead and just input their information, authorize the card, and then the payment can go ahead and be processed. So if we go ahead, and you can see here that a credit card has already been added. So we did this before, but if we click on that, I can see a Visa ending in this number. So I do not have access to the entire credit card number. And then from here, I can remove the credit card. I can also update it, maybe if the expiration date has changed. And this is always going to pull from the contact that's tied to the event. If you do have two contacts on an event, you can add two different credit cards, but they must be a contact in order for them to authorize a credit card. I can also add a new credit card or request authorization. So if we go back to the document, and let's say I want to take a look at the BEO, I can see here for our birthday party, all of the food has been chosen, all of the beverage has been chosen, and I can see that there is an outstanding balance. I'm going to go ahead and click Pay Online. This is going to take the guest to their guest portal where they can authorize a credit card. So once they click Authorize a Card, they would add in their credit card number and the corresponding address information. In order for a charge to go through successfully on Tripleseat, the billing address does need to match. It is a live system, so if there are insufficient funds, the card will decline. If something does not match, it will say charging or processing error. So that's a good safeguard, just so you know nothing will clear unless the funds are actually there. So if we go back to the Payments tab, I'm going to go ahead and go to Payments. And then I want to go ahead and I want to pay this deposit. So I'm going to click Pay. I'm going to click Credit Card, and it's going to pull up my credit card. And then once I hit Submit, this will go ahead and charge the card. Any and all payments that are going to be done through Tripleseat, you can pull the records through a payments report. But now if we jump back to where we were before, if we go back into Settings, and if we go to online payments, you're going to see right here that there's something called a transaction history report. So if we click on the transaction history report and we select a date range, this is going to pull directly from Clover Connect, who is the processor. And once I hit submit, this is going to email me a full report of all transactions done within that time frame. And it's also going to pull the Tripleseat event ID, so you can cross-reference this with any other reporting, and it will show when the funds were taken, what the amount was, the date, and then also the event name. I also did want to mention that you are able to process refunds for up to 90 days after an event within Tripleseat as well, but all of the timing on the refunds are obviously subject to their financial institution, so it does operate kind of just like any other refund option. So if you have any more questions about that, you can, again, reach out to support, reach out to your account manager. You also have the option to accept ACH payments, so you can add bank account information as well. You don't have to. You can just do credit cards, or you can just do ACH if you would like.
I definitely love this online payment feature, Chelsea, and I just want to kind of chime in with kind of one of the things that I always like to tell my customers about this is, having online payments, it really makes it a better experience, not only for your guests, but also for you. You know, your guest as is able to sign contracts, they can make payments all there directly through the guest portal. But, you know, on your end, you know, you don't have to chase anybody down for payments. You know, you can direct them to that guest portal. They can take care of everything there. Once the payment is made, it's automatically going to be recorded as paid. You receive a notification. So it really just helps to make it a seamless process for the guest side as well as for the event manager.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. When I was an event manager, I managed for 8 different locations. And this could not have been more helpful, tracking down, filling out CCA forms, then shredding them at the end of the event. This was definitely a time saver, and it was so much more secure. And knowing that we had payment information in the event that something happened. Listen, we've all been there. We've all had some sly guests before. So this is just a good way to ensure that you guys get the money that's due, or if they cancel an event, you still need to charge a deposit, you're able to do that as well. The other thing that I really like is you can request authorization. So if they're not authorizing their card, you can continuously send this over to them. And then you can make sure in discussions that it has been viewed and opened. Another favorite feature of mine, if you feel like stalking them just a little bit, which I always highly recommend as an event manager, just to make sure that everything is taken care of. The other thing that I do want to mention is even if you do have a card on file, because we do have some customers that use this solely for deposits, but don't use this to close out their events. So if you take the deposit via Clover Connect or Stripe, but then for the end of the event, you need to go ahead and just close it out to a credit card that was run in-house. You can just go ahead over to this gear, hit pay, and then you can do credit card in store. So you are able to do that. Again, all of these payment methods can be updated in preferences where Katie showed you in the drop downs. And we also, when I was doing this, we did have some banquet captains that actually closed events out via an iPad to Stripe, or we would charge it out the next day. But it was always up, to the discretion of the guest, whatever your internal SOP is. But I highly, highly, highly recommend this. And I think just for the ease for you as the event manager, and then also it's a really nice added bonus for the client that's booking, so they feel like they don't have to do any extra work on their part as well. The last thing I do want to mention, if you guys do have questions about anything, or if you want to do any independent learning with Tripleseat, is this help and questions tab up here at the top of your page. If you go ahead and click on it, you can submit a question from here. We also have an incredible online learning section as well. We have Tripleseat University, which is a go at your own pace site where you can learn and then take tests and then become Tripleseat certified. We do break this down into different levels from general user all the way up to super admin. And then also online webinars, which is something like you're joining today. We do have different webinars based upon different features, as well as new user trainings. And we do have some really great introductory Tripleseat webinars as well for those of you that have newly migrated over from Gather. So definitely recommend doing those. You can also find the online webinars if you go to the Tripleseat website and if you click on the events tab as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you guys got some of your questions answered. Katie, thank you for joining me a few time zones over.
Yeah, actually, and if you don't mind, Chelsea, I'm going to do a little shameless plug for an event that I have going on here in Atlanta. So for those of our customers in Atlanta or in the Atlanta metro area, we're actually going to be doing some in-person events coming up next month. And just Tripleseat in general, we're very excited. We are going to be bringing back these in-person events. So if you are not located in Atlanta, do not worry. We're going to be bringing these in-person events to markets all across the country. We have some coming up in Boston and New York as well. But for those of you in Atlanta, we're doing a Party People on April 12th at New Realm Brewing. It is a casual happy hour where you can come and meet the Tripleseat staff. You can network with fellow event managers, food and drink on us. And then the following day, we're going to be doing a TSU on the road. So it will be a live Tripleseat training, and it will be held on the roof of Ponce City Market the following day. So would absolutely love to see some of your beautiful faces in person. And if that's something that you would like to sign up for, you can do so on the events page of the Tripleseat website. Just like Chelsea said, this is the same spot where you can go to sign up for any of our future virtual events as well.
Perfect. And for those of you, our friends on the West Coast, I will be seeing you guys very soon. We do have some stuff in the works. So hopefully we'll be in your markets very, very shortly. I miss traveling and seeing everybody. So we are excited to get back out on the road. We're excited for events just like you guys are. And we hope to see you soon. And enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you guys so much for spending some time with us.